here are the 5 biggest mistakes I have noticed people make on threads generally when it comes to the algorithm. If your posts have been consistently flopping, if your reach is consistently throttled and it's really low, you're not getting much engagement, chances are you're making one of these 5 mistakes. And if you stick around until the end, you'll be able to fix them. Let's go. Firstly, the number one mistake that is most likely ruining your engagement, why posting more is not the answer and what is, how to avoid getting flagged as spam. The 3x3 posting system that skyrockets reach, many of you will be aware of this, but there's a little bit of nuance to it. The hidden setting that might secretly be killing your account, and it's hiding in plain sight. With that being said, let's go into mistake number 1. This is actually something that came up inside of Saints College. I was answering this question about an hour or 2 ago, but it comes down to the whole idea of posting more versus quality and quantity. I wanted to put this one out there to anyone who's on the call now in the chat. What are your thoughts on this question of whether I should post threads and then quality, less on threads, and have more quality? Anyone have any thoughts on that debate and what you think is a good way to go about it?
I was thinking more of how Alex Hormozy talked about like quality versus quantity. And he made a video about, call it like the accordion effects or something like that, if you know what I'm talking about.
I do, Brandon.
So like this applies to a lot of probably any sort of platform where you want to figure out the quantity first. It's always better to do more when you're just starting out. And then you pick up that data to figure out what works best, figure out the formatting and whatever. Once you figure out what works, you can decide to tone it down to figure out the quality content that works for you. Once you dial in the quality content, then you could eventually figure out how to do more of that quality content. That accordion effect where you dial in on the quality next and then work towards the quantity, and then you figure out what's even more qualitative and just work your way around that.
100%. I really like that imagery of the content accordion because when it's contracted, you're not much volume, but you hope you've got the quality there. When it's expanded, you're aiming for lots of quality and quantity. But the point behind this is Mosey was saying that that's a pattern in content creation he's noticed across all platforms he has dominated on a level like here on Threads. I've noticed something similar, which is that it changes as you go and learn more things and test things out. But the point I really want to make with this first mistake is that Threads doesn't really care about how much you post if there isn't good quality there. But here is the kind of surprising thing for me. It really does care about how fast people engage with your posts. And this is what we call a new term that I've learned actually, engagement velocity speed, engagement speed. And it's how quickly people will engage with, comment, share, repost after you have posted. Why is this? This is something we actually discussed in last week's part 1 of the algorithm deep dive. Why does engagement speed matter once you have posted something? If you've got any thoughts, put them in the chat.
You repeat the question.
Why is this mistake? Posting more does not necessarily mean better growth. The question is, what does equal better growth? If we're talking about the algorithm, it's engagement speed, the speed at which people engage with your post once it's posted. Why do you think engagement speed matters? Sam said visibility and boost the algorithm. Now, I do know that there are a few people here that were at last week's class. I'm going to be nice today, and I'll go ahead and tell you, it's because when you post on Threads, the algorithm puts your post in a mini test batch of people who determine how good that post is before it decides whether it wants to send it out to a bunch of people. But basically, that's why engagement speed matters, because if lots of people engage with it once it's been posted quickly, then that's telling the algorithm that, oh, lots of people like this. So if I put it out to more people, lots of people among those people will like it too. And ultimately, that's serving Meta's aim of having more people on the platform, which means more attention, which means more advertisers, which means more money, which means happy Zuck. Does that chain of logic or reasoning make sense to everyone as to why this idea of posting more doesn't really mean better growth? It's more like this idea of engagement speed that has a big difference. Get a thumbs up or a love heart, any kind of reaction if we're on the same page here. No such thing as a stupid question if you do have any at all. So with that being said, that's the theory. What do we actually do with that? This is when it is good to check your best performing posts, use Blacktwist if you want a free month of Blacktwist, because they don't offer a free trial, but if you do want a free month, let us know and we've got a discount code for you. Use Blacktwist to check out the analytics of your posts. Look at the ones that have done the best. I like to use likes as the best way to determine highest performing. Look at the timestamp. And if you've seen that theme over the last week, your top 3 posts were all posted between the hours of 6 to 9 p.m. and they were on weeknights, for instance. You've now got a hypothesis that's saying I should post around those times on weeknights next week. Test that. And if you notice similar results, you're getting more validation behind that theory. After a week or two of doing that, you've got your best time to post. And once you've figured that out, it isn't really changing. And that's just something that's going to help you over time. So that's something. And then with this idea of engagement speed, once you post, try hang around and reply as soon as possible in the first 30 minutes or so, because of the reasons we've just discussed. To wrap up this first mistake, the volume isn't as important for engagement and reach. It's the speed. And I had not thought about that before. It was a bit of a paradigm shift. Hopefully you find that interesting too. Mistake number 2 is acting like a bot, and then unsurprisingly, you get treated like one by the algorithm. This is essentially coming down to spammy behavior, like tracking whenever we use threads. But just to list off a few things, everything we tap, how long we are on a post for, what topics that post represents, everything we like, everything we engage with, duration of that engagement, things that we repost, all of it is factored into an algorithm. All of that determines, as well as who we follow, who we unfollow, time on attention, exactly, what our feed is. But because it can detect all of those actions, it can trigger flag if you're doing things it detects as spammy. What do you think are some things that might be detected or the algorithm might regard as spammy on threads? Put it in the chat, no wrong or right, just to get the creative juices flowing. Things that you probably shouldn't do on threads, okay? Scheduled posts, I'll come back to that. Liking a bunch of threads in short succession or reposting, cool. Anyone else? Generic comments, okay? Massive posting in a short period of time, repeated behavior, cool. So on the scheduled post one, just quickly, I think it was Carol. I was actually reading about this from an article. Actually, I'll read it because it's very timely and I happen to have it already, which is pretty cool. Her name is Etienne, or Etienne, if it's French. And she is product marketing manager at Threads, straight from the source. The TLDR of this podcast episode was that using third-party apps is fine and won't affect your post performance on Threads, which is indirectly answering your question. Scheduling posts is not a bad thing in and of itself, but too much of anything can be a bad thing, right? And really what I'm trying to get across here is automated behavior at large volumes. Any of that is just abnormal behavior that most people will not be doing based on what Threads has thought is going to be normal behavior for most people on the platform. So for instance, you go and rapid fire comment on a bunch of people's posts. And I'll talk about how there's some nuance there, because if I were you, I'd be thinking, wait, that's what you tell us to do inside of Saints College. Bear with me. Similarly, that's a great question to put at the bottom, Yaz, if you wouldn't mind. Similarly, follow, unfollow sprees. I'll address the nuance and what you can do instead. If you go and follow 100 people in a day and then wait for them to follow you, because the follow back rate is generally pretty high, but then you go and unfollow all of them, not normal behavior. And then you've got low effort posts just to stay consistent. When we say low effort, I'd say it's a high bar for it to be regarded as low effort. Basically, if you go and post something, hey everyone, or morning, or streaks. I don't think I've seen anyone ever post streaks on Threads, but you get the idea. That's very low effort. Just if you were around with Snapchat and people just literally sending a photo of nothing and didn't caption streaks, okay, I get it, but really, that kind of behavior on Threads, red flag. So what do we do instead? Let's look at addressing the rapid fire commenting thing first. So that's what you shouldn't do. What should you do instead? And question to anyone who's on the call now, any thoughts on that? What should you do instead of the rapid fire commenting? Because most of us know that engagement is important. Become a sniper. Can't argue with that.
Let me know if I'm off topic, but I would say engage opening conversations.
Nice. Yeah. As we're just saying, leave meaningful comments, engage with comments. Yes. All right, we got this. Everyone has experienced this where you'll get someone commenting on your post and it'll just be like an 100 emoji or a fire emoji or facts or like the standard stuff that's just a cliche. If you do 20 of those in 2 minutes, that's the stuff that gets you flagged. This is where the nuance is. We recommend quality and quantity engagement. If you continue the conversation, if you make a genuine effort to make a like genuine response, then that is the stuff that like the algorithm does not detect because you're making a real effort. Now, think about the parallel to this in real life. This always helps me with Threads and social media in general. It's meant to be social. How do you socialize with a human being face to face? You're probably not going to get very far with that person in terms of depth of connection. What is the opposite of that? What made you want to become a sleep doctor? What got you to start your Threads account instead of an X account? You're looking at the underlying feelings and attitudes and behavior and values behind people's decisions. If we transfer that across the Threads, it's the same thing. That is what a thoughtful comment is. And that's how you get genuine engagement. Continue the conversation. Yeah, powerful stuff. I agree, Angelica. So you've seen creators copy paste those responses as well. That's interesting. I have actually not, but I'd be interested to hear a bit more about that towards the end. So that's the rapid fire commenting. Then follow, unfollow sprees. The nuance is we recommend, like we've got the college directory inside of Saints College. Go through, 20, 30 of them in a day. But with each one, go and actually thoughtfully engage in the way that I've just described so you can build a connection with them. And you drop the name Saints College and they should follow back because that's why they've put their name in the college directory initially. And you've just made a friend, not a follower, a friend. That's the nuance there that we advocate for. If you were to just go and follow everyone there, rapid fire, without making an effort to engage with them inside the college directory, that's not a good thing. There's a lot of stuff inside Saints College about how to do good quality posts. We've got lots of classes on that. If you look like a bot with lots of automated behavior, Threads will treat you like one. Mistake number 3, lots of bot talk. Posting like a corporate robot and then getting ignored as a result. This is not LinkedIn. Really, what I'm getting at here is we can see, actually give me a reaction if you have ever seen ChatGPT content on Threads. All right. I think, yeah, every day, exactly. And to be clear, I advocate for using it. I've spent hundreds of hours building my own custom, when they leave the quotation marks in, that fire emojis, rocket emojis, telltale signs. But point being, I've spent hundreds of hours building my own custom GPT called Threads GPT. Everyone inside of Full Circle gets access to it. And those of you who are here would know I advocate for using it, but it's the draft. And it gets really good to a finished version, but you still need to tweak it and make it your own towards the end. The difference and why this is a mistake is when you don't tweak it and you treat that first output as the result. People know. They might not be able to explicitly recognize it, but it's like an ick deep down that they can't quite put their finger on. They know. And in turn, it's telling the algorithm that it's shit quality. You're not going to grow. You're not going to get better reach. You're not going to get more engagement. You'll just be stuck in the void until you break that cycle and realize you do need to actually put some personality into it and make it your own. That is a great point, Sam, about perfect English. Very quickly, because it is outside the scope of this, but I think it's really useful nonetheless. I did this deep dive into the dark internet theory. The person who wrote an article about AI content being everywhere online was coming up with these ideas for how you can essentially, it's like the opposite of a Turing test. Turing test is when it proves the computer is conscious or intelligent. It's like the anti of that, which is how do you prove that you're a human? One of the solutions this author was suggesting is that you actually write imperfectly. As you were just saying, Sam, the AI content, unless you, the loophole, but unless you train it otherwise, it's going to write very well, but so well that it's bland. If you use imperfections in the way that you write, that are telltale signs of your humanness, it's a way to stand out more. What does that mean? I'm not going to swear. You can get your ChatGPT to swear, but it's just less likely. I'll use swear words in my content because I use swear words in real life. Then little abbreviations. Instead of saying fucking, I'll write FKN for short. Random things that you say in real life that are quirky to you, honestly, it's a no-brainer. Incorporate that in your content because it's you. That's how you make and keep threads and not LinkedIn. So in short, write how you talk. Instead of being a corporate robot where you're not changing anything about what ChatGPT has given to you, just write like you talk. If you ever have writer's block, ask yourself, what am I trying to say right now out loud? And then go through that process. I am trying to say that you should take my stuff seriously because I have posted 2,500 times on Threads. This is a valuable post for you because I will show you what 99% of people on Threads don't know. Oh, that's actually a good promise. Here is what 99% of people on Threads don't know. I'm literally speaking this out loud as a way to overcome my writer's block. And I'm doing that because I'm writing how I talk. I've already spoken about being bold and standing out by using imperfections in your speech that make you. And when you combine the writing how you talk, using imperfections, being bold, this is how you separate yourself from everyone else who's using the same old boring bullshit. Everyone still with me so far? That's mistake number 3. We've got 2 more to go. Here is probably the one that I am the biggest believer in because it's the thing that I've followed for the last 593 days. Black Twist recently introduced a streak feature and it shows quite prominently on the dashboard. Yes, 593-day streak. And I've been able to maintain that streak because of this system I'm about to go through now. Before I get there, the mistake is you're posting randomly and you don't have a system. What is a system? Because I think it's a loaded term. It's like it's a bunch of rules that you follow to get an outcome. So with that in mind, a bunch of rules that you follow to get an outcome, I use the 3x3 posting system. You pick 3 core topics, post 3 times per day, and continue doing that until you're around 3K followers, then you can niche down. For me, I spoke about online business, self-improvement, and mental models. And I had that in my bio. I posted about one of those each per day for 3 posts per day. You could do that for the first 3,000 followers. Then at that point, you'll have enough data to niche down and just pick one of those topics to go all in on that and build out products, whatever. But the core parts of this system, 3 topics, 3 posts per day, 1 topic per day. And to relate this back to my definition of a system, it's a bunch of rules that you follow to achieve an outcome. There are 2 key rules there. I will post about 3 topics each day, and I will post 3 times per day. And I want to follow those 2 rules each day to get the outcome of growing on Threads. That's the system. It's so simple, but I've been able to do it, as I've just said, for 593 days in a row. Obviously, I've niched down into the Threads thing, but now I just incorporate different perspectives from self-improvement and online business and mental models into that. The best system is the one that works. And speaking my truth here, this one works for me. You've seen sprinkles of this throughout Saints College. I would not recommend it unless I believed in it. Use a system. This one's great, but just don't not use one, because without one, you won't last very long on Threads. And the key to making this meaningful is to do it for a long time. Any questions about this mistake of posting randomly without a system? It's mistake number 4 before we get to the 5th and final mistake. Okay, enough said. Proof is in the pudding. So yeah, Sam, 89 days, 18K followers using this system. Student has become the master. And final thing I'll say about mistake number 4 is that this is what helps you start from zero in terms of having no idea about social media, what to post, how to post, just nothing. Eventually finding a niche that you just enjoy exploring. Because that was me. I just posted a bunch of random stuff, and over time, you get more clarity on what you like talking about and then what people like consuming. That's how you get authority, and that's how you engage with a bunch of people on the platform at the start. 5th and final mistake, it is ignoring just one super simple setting that can like absolutely destroy your reach overnight without actually really. Let's say one day you have noticed a huge plateau in your content compared to what it's been like over the last week. People aren't engaging, the view count's low, likes are low, all of the vanity metrics are low, including followers, all that stuff. What happened? As I said, I've been going through this recently. It's fresh. Basically, actually, let me know before, has anyone been in this position, or is anyone in this position now where your normal metrics are much lower than you'd expect them to be, despite feeling like you're doing everything right, and you're wondering what's going on here? What am I doing wrong? I'll put my thumbs up because that's me. Now, if I'm the only one on the call who's going through that right now, actually, I'd be pretty happy because I don't want that to be anyone. But if you are going through this, let me know. All right, Angelica, it's nice to not be alone. Sam, okay. D, hand raise, or is that a me too? I think it's a me too. All right. So there's a few of us on the call here. This is how you fix it. And let me just share my screen because it's going to be much easier to demonstrate this rather than to try and explain it. And if you did just put your hand up saying you're with me in going through that whole reach thing, then I encourage you to get Threads up on desktop or on mobile so we can fix it together. Threads. Now let's go to profile. No, not that one. Sorry. Settings. And then account. And then account status. This is the same on mobile, by the way. So to repeat, settings, you can find that either on your profile page or if you're on desktop in this little button in the bottom left here. Click on settings. Make sure you're in the account tab. Then look down towards underneath the other account settings heading, and then click on account status. That will take you over to Instagram, and then you will see a little bar that looks something like, oh shit, I have to share my other tab. Hold up. Okay, cool. You will see something that looks like this, and essentially you want to have ticks. If you don't have ticks next to stuff that's here, that's not good. And you are like, that would probably explain why you're experiencing some drops in those metrics. Now on mobile, you actually see a larger list of these. For me, there were like 4, but bottom line is you want to see the ticks next to each row of whatever's listed. If you're not getting all ticks, then click through and see what it's telling you, and then go and address that accordingly. This won't pop up and notify you if it's not a tick. And that's the scary thing. So the action step here is, honestly, it takes 5 seconds. Try and do this once a week. It's just good to keep a finger on the pulse with, because you won't know if it's not. Good. Yeah, Angelica. So yeah, the steps are on mobile or desktop, go to settings. If you're on desktop, settings are just in the bottom left corner here. If you're on mobile, go to your profile page, and then it should be in the top right. Once you click on settings, yeah, go to the accounts tab and then click on account status. It will take you over to Instagram. You want to see all green ticks next to each row item. And then if you don't see green ticks next to each one, click through on any that aren't showing green ticks, and it should explain to you what's going on. Make that a weekly practice. As I said, it takes 5 seconds, and there's literally no reason not to, given what is at stake there. All right, where are we at? So yeah, that is the setting that we really need to keep an eye on for all the reasons already stated. Now, what do we do to actually trigger some crosses next to those items in that setting instead of those ticks that we saw? It's really all the stuff that we've already spoken about, all the automated behavior that we would expect triggers red flags for the algorithm. So to repeat, it's things like bulk liking, bulk following, bulk engaging, automated behavior, rapid fire, lots of it in a short amount of time, that just basically is saying this is abnormal behavior for a user, because most people don't use threads like this. That is the sort of thing that will make your account suppressed. So the next question is, if you go and you do a weekly check of that setting and you see a red flag there, or you don't see a green tick where one should be, what do you do? And the suggestion is that you take a 2-day break, 48 hours, and then have a reset after those 2 days, and then come back, focus on high value, no asks, and do that for a week or so. Now, what does that mean? Normally, I recommend, if you're posting 3 times per day and you've got some sort of community or newsletter, plug whatever it is once a day among those 3 posts. If you got flagged for whatever reason, have a 2-day break, come back for a week, don't plug any offers, just give heaps of value and make no asks. Make sense? Where is this coming from? I did a deep dive of the algorithm, and I looked at 35 sources ranging from Reddit to, believe it or not, academic articles about, and all like Meta's documentation on the algorithm as well. And that was all the information that we've been talking about is coming from all of those sources. So obviously there's a lot of, as Huberman would say, anecdotal data, but this stuff, those sources, it's not just my opinion. Okay, with that being said, that is mistake number 5. Don't ignore the account status setting in Threads. It's so easy to check it once a week. And those are our 5 mistakes. So quick recap. The first mistake is poaching. We're not poaching. Or are we? No. We're posting too much without engagement. That's a mistake. Remember that thing about engagement velocity or engagement speed. Try to engage as much as possible after you posted something. If you're going to do it on any post, make it a long form, because they're the high leverage ones that have the most potential to give you the results you want. Second mistake is spammy actions that are basically telling the algorithm, like, this is shit. This is not what people do on Threads. I don't like you, so I'm going to tank your reach. Instead, think about everyone you engage with on Threads as though, game changer, they are a real human being and you want to get to know them. Make an effort, ask deep questions, get deep into the replies, see what happens. That's what I did a lot in my first few months of Threads. And honestly, it was like one of the best growth periods ever. Mistake number 3 is just blending in instead of standing out. And the way that we're blending in is if we're just taking ChatGPT content as a final version and not tweaking it at all. That's the biggest mistake. Don't do that. Treat the stuff you get from ChatGPT as a draft. And then that extra 10%, 20%, incorporate your own personality into it. And you can do that by including words that you uniquely say in day-to-day life. And one of my catchphrases, and by extension, one of yours inside of Saints College, is LFG, or let's fucking go. That's a bit of a catchphrase. Skibbity. See, that's what I mean. Look, I laughed. Other people were laughing. We need that on Threads. We need more of that because it stands out and it tells me about who you are and what your quirks are. And we should lead into those because those are the things that make us cool. Perfect example. Fourth mistake is posting randomly instead of using a system. And the system that I recommend, and hopefully a lot of you are following, is the 3x3 system, where you post about 3 topics per day, 1 topic per post per day. And then final mistake, number 5, just ignoring or not even knowing that they existed, which maybe that was you, ignoring or just not knowing about those account suppression warnings in the settings of technically the Instagram app. Fix that mistake by setting a weekly reminder to check account status in your phone. You can do it in 5 seconds. Go to settings, go to the account tab, click account status. It'll take you over to Instagram. Make sure you've got green ticks along each item. If you don't, investigate further, sort it out. Those are the 5 mistakes that are likely killing your reach. If you are having a problem with growing on Threads, getting more engaged followers, more engagement, more views, see you later, Sam, any of it, really have a think about which mistake you're making, because the chances are you're making at least one of them. Now, for me, I would say posting too much without engagement, to be honest, that's my biggest killer, because I'm always going to prioritize like Full Circle and then Saints College and then Threads. And that makes it a bit tricky because obviously life gets in the way. And if Threads is it's a bit of a paradox, which I've been meaning to write about, because if I'm helping people grow on Threads, see where I'm going, I can't, my account is lost. So that's a me thing. But if I'm just to reflect on kind of the biggest mistake I'm making among the 5 that we've just spoken about, it's not having the engagement that I used to have because it's gone elsewhere. Final word is think about which of those 5 you're most likely to have been making. Address it. That's it. Don't think you need to address every single one. Just focus on one at a time. For me, it's number 1, try to have a bit more engagement speed. For you, it might be any of the other 5 or 4. Those are the 5 mistakes you need to avoid. Last week was the 5 things you should not avoid, but actually lean into to appease the algorithm. And that kind of wraps up our 2-part series on the Threads algorithm. Part 1, what you should do. Part 2, what you should not do. Thanks for tagging along.